Merry Christmas! Hey everyone, my name is Friendzoned. I finally decided to show my face on camera, but I'm not ballsy enough to show my actual entire face. So I decided to find a compromise. I had a feeling that the face that I put in my old videos wasn't really representative of who I was, and the best way to actually, be representative of who I am is to show me actually doing stuff. So here I am, Merry Christmas! In any case, welcome to the 7th episode of Friendzone Produces. Today I will take you through my remix of the legendary track called Shook Ones by Mobb Deep. It's a legendary track. If you like rap, if you like rap's history, it played a huge role in the development of the genre. And I decided to get inspired from this track to write my remix. So usually when I write a track, I start either with the chords or with the drums, etc. And this time I decided to start from the vocals themselves. And this allowed me to create a track in a bit of a different manner than I usually do, which was fun. What I'll do is that I'll just break down what I think is the most interesting parts of the track. I'll go through the vocals, through the instruments, the subs, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully this will give you a nice idea of how I made the track, and maybe you will learn a few tricks from this, so who knows. Anyway, as I said, I started with the a cappella of the track itself. From the get-go, I knew that I wanted to change the direction of the track. So I know it's like a classic old school hip-hop rap, but I wanted to stir this into my own direction. And to do this, I played a lot with vocoders that you can see down there. So what a vocoder does is that basically it takes the audio input from your track and it sort of mashes it or modifies it with a different, like a secondary input. So for this track, I decided to play a lot with the external carrier, and this takes an audio from another channel in your track, in this project. In this case, I just have one saw wave in Serum, a bit modified, and it just sounds like this. And this will then modify the a cappella from the track, and it sounds like this. And I use it a lot throughout the track to spice up the vocals at certain points. So anyway, I started from this vocals, and then I decided to create some chords over it with some instruments. And you can see that there are lots of MIDI here. Almost all of it plays the same chord progression. I made one 4-chord long progression, and then a bit of variations here and there. You can see A, B, and C. Those are the variations. And then I just transposed or sort of modified those basic chords into all of the different tracks. So they basically all play the same, sometimes a tiny bit different, but it's all in all the same. And you can see that there are lots of deactivated clips here and there. That's because when I sort of put the track together, I had all of those options to choose from on which instruments will play with which at the same time. And I first played them, almost all of them at the same time, and then removed the ones that I didn't want at this specific section. So you can see, for example, that in the intro, there's this pad here playing. But I didn't want this pad to play, for example, during the first verse or during the chorus. So by doing this, you have a wall of different MIDI and different sounds playing at the same time. And then you're able to pick the ones that you actually want to play at certain times. Now, much more easily than you would if you would create a new instance of instrument every single time. We can talk a bit about them though. As I said, there's just the classic keys. This is with this is a preset from Ableton, I think, the mellow piano that I modified a bit. I do like this sound here, especially during the chorus. It's also made with the same preset, but I modified it completely so it sounds like this. And to get those chords, I simply smashed an arpeggiator in chord trigger mode before it. So it just plays this sort of very soft, noisy sound at the back, which gives also the rhythm to the track. So I really like this one. Piano, this is just simply the some arpeggiator at the back, played with Ableton's grand piano. And I automated the volume at certain point in time. I can show you the automation. I automated the volume so that only the end of the arpeggiator would be heard. Same with the reverb. The more the arpeggio is heard, the more reverb comes into play. This filled out the track nicely, I thought. I got a few violins made with free VSTs called Sonatina violins. I already talked about them in a previous video. They sound like this. And one other layer for the higher end of the spectrum. So you can see that all of them, as I said before, play the same MIDI basically, with a tiny bit of variation. But at different parts in the track, they sound different. For example, this is the first verse, this is the chorus. This is the second intro. So depending on which part of the track was playing, I would just choose a different selection of the instruments I've had. The last interesting thing to talk about are those dissonant patch here. They sound like this. And for this patch, I got inspired by Mr. Bill and his track Apophenia. Go listen to it, it's in the description, it's awesome. And at some point in the track, he introduces a similar type of pad or chord system where there's like a whole bunch of operators playing at the same time, and each of them have a different LFO modulating the pitch of the oscillator. So for example, only one sound like this. If I would crank the amount of the LFO up, it would sound like this. But only a tiny bit of this LFO playing at different rates for each of the oscillators. This will add for a very strange, a bit dissonant texture, which I really liked in Mr. Bill's track, so I decided to implement it here too. There is this one interesting lead that plays throughout the track though. And I did this one with Ableton's Operator 2, and this is basically two layers. One is the hit of the sound, and the other one is the tail. And the hit sounds like this. It's really just a click, and the way I created this click was with a super strong pitch envelope at the beginning. And I wanted this click to stay very clear, so I didn't put any reverb on it. But I did put some reverb on the tail itself. So in the tail, you have the oscillator that creates the sound. You have one dry layer without any reverb, and the other one is with 100% reverb. And this allowed me to have more control on the volume of both parts of the sound. Together they sound like this. And with the hit at the beginning, they sound like this. This creates for like a more impactful note. There's nothing too interesting about the kicks and the snare, it's just like a ton of different layers on top of each other. They sound like this together. There are a few interesting percussions elements down there. They just sound like this together. And so this is just like a matter of puzzle making basically. So you just like spend a few hours taking some nice samples, modifying them, pitching them up and down, and then you just throw them in as sounds best. There is an interesting thing going on here though. So those two over here, they are in fact oscillators made with operator as well. And they're just like plain white noise. And this one here is the impact of the thing. So a bit similarly to what I've shown earlier, This one has a very, very short decay time, so the white noise just decreases in volume super fast, and this creates for this nice little impact there. And then there's another layer of white noise that goes like this. It lacks the attack because I wanted the attack to come from the other layer, but it has a longer decay and a stranger EQ that it makes it sound like a hi-hat. And together they sound like this. And that was a nice way to actually introduce some rhythm to the track. And so all in all, I think this is everything in the track. So there's like those percussion elements, a bunch of instruments, the vocals, and this is how the track came about. So it's quite a simple track, but at the same time, simple is sometimes best. I hope this track is a nice twist on the legendary track Shook Ones by Mobb Deep. In any case, I hope you found this video useful and informative in some ways. I hope you didn't mind my face and my crappy camera quality too much either. If not, leave a like, subscribe. If it did bother you, then just unsubscribe and dislike the video, that's fine too. In any case, my name is Friendzoned, and I'll see you next time.